All right, guys, everybody can hear me? Okay, good stuff. Let me just set up the camera angle, and once we finish drinking the tea, we will start sculpting and talking at the same time. So, sorry, just need to tilt it a little bit. Hopefully it doesn't fall over. Right, and we'll put that over here. Okay. Once this cup is all the way down, we'll begin the main thing. In the meantime, how's everybody been doing? What's been happening? Oh, Miami, yeah. It also has a 69 there. Not gonna get into details of the reference. I've put like hardcore, I don't know how many pieces, was it 6? No, 5. I got like 5 pieces of ginger in there. Yeah, not bad, not bad. Pretty good so far. Been pretty busy. So, by the way, everybody who's watching, sorry that I haven't made an announcement of a preview what time I'm gonna go on live, because I didn't actually know what time I was gonna go. I actually wasn't even sure I was gonna be able to make it today. I just had so many things to do, but yeah, it's all sorted now. So never mind that. All good. And during the week, also watched some of the movies, caught up with a few films so that I can watch the Avengers: Infinity War, which I haven't seen yet. I will be watching that soon. And I've seen the Doctor Strange. I've watched what's the other one? Thor Ragnarok. Just trying to think what else was there. Oh, and the Black Panther. Yes, watch the Black Panther as well. So those three. And next one, once we're done with the session, if I don't fall asleep after the session, I'll probably watch the Avengers. To be perfectly honest, not a big fan of how Marvel Universe is just doing their whole characters and writing dialogues and all of that. It's just feels a bit cheesy, and they sometimes tend to, it's probably a Disney thing as well. They just ruin stuff, in my opinion. Like sometimes they ruin things with this kind of, I don't know, flat humor. I don't even know how else to describe it. Like I just don't find it funny most of the times. I just don't. So other than that, yeah, some things that are just really awesome. I wish there were some things that were done, you know, outside of Marvel Universe, at least in somewhat of a similar manner. Most of the effects are good as well. Black Panther was probably my. I definitely say I wouldn't. I can't say I really enjoyed Thor Ragnarok all that much, although I liked the acting mostly. I was very happy with the acting, and I was generally quite happy with the cast. Like I loved Kate Blanchett as this Hela whatever character, was really good, and I've always been a fan of her acting, so she's always made an impression. And I kind of feel like that Thor, I don't know, felt a bit underwhelming. I don't know why. Just Loki is entertaining as always, but that's about it. And what else? Well, that's all about Thor, really. Hello. Glad you could make it. Couldn't make it at 6 o'clock, so instead try to do my best to at least get to 7. So yeah, what else? Doctor Strange was kind of interesting. I like the Benedict Cumberbatch as well. I really enjoy his acting. I enjoy just how he does. I just generally enjoy watching him on screen. So I'm definitely gonna be googling his filmography and maybe catching up on that as well. And I also enjoyed quite a lot. I enjoyed the Black Panther. There were just few minor things that really felt unnecessary. It's just really, really, really like there was just really nothing to, you know, like it could have been easily done without it. Like you really like you gotta understand when you make movies, you have to kind of really start thinking about it. Like, why is it okay for certain things to be said by certain people, but it's not okay if it would not be okay if it was the other way around. So I kind of don't like the fact that they are very, you know, they kind of showed that bit of a double standard. Like this sister of Black Panther, she referred to Martin Freeman's character, whatever his name was. I don't even remember because he just wasn't even memorable to me. I felt like Martin Freeman just really had nothing to do there, just really felt out of place. And I don't know, there was just nothing about his character, and he certainly didn't need to be there. They could have easily just picked any other actor. They didn't need Martin Freeman for doing that role. I don't know why. But anyways, I uh, I just thought that those two moments when she said the colonist or something like that, and then she called him like white guy or white boy or something like that. And I mean, I am all up for banter. I'm fine with it. I heard a lot of like Russians back in the days calling Armenians, you know, among in our mixed crowd, you know, different things because that was also a thing. It's still a thing in a way, but in the 90s it was more of a thing as well, and I'm always fine with that. I've always been okay with it. But my point is that if it was the other way around, this would have caused a massive, like, you know, hysteria everywhere. And I know this for a fact. I don't understand why they had to shoehorn that in. There was absolutely no reason for it to be there. All right, good to know. Good to know. So yeah, the other than these two things, I felt like also the whole abilities and powers of this metal that they were mining in their hold on, how do I say Wakanda? Yeah, yeah, yeah. In Wakanda, why? Like, it felt like it was shifting its abilities just to fit the plot. So whatever the plot demanded for it to be able to do, it was doing it. It was almost as if the same thing with Star Wars universe, especially in the latest, films, and maybe even the prequels to some degree, but mostly in the latest ones. It's like, okay, plot demands it to do that, so now it's going to do that, and then all of a sudden it's not able to do that in a similar situation because plot demands it not to be able to do that anymore. And I don't like it when they do that. It's a shitty writing, and I don't like shitty writing. So those are my complaints. Other than that, Black Panther, like, yes, I was taking some time originally to getting used to the main guy's accent a little bit. I found that a little bit difficult at first, and then I got used to him a bit more, and that was really awesome. Yeah. I haven't watched Civil War. I'm not a big fan of Captain America. Just can't really, like, every time I tried to watch him, I just couldn't. Although everybody tells me that Civil War is better than the first one, so I don't know. Maybe eventually I will, but it probably won't be on my top list because I just really couldn't. I just really don't know. I don't like him very much. Anyway, so yeah, I liked the acting. I really liked the cast they picked. I like that they picked some of the cool kind of new, more original actors, rather than the more well-known ones. It felt like it was really nice. I watched Age of Ultron, yes, and but that was like a long time ago. I can barely remember. It just wasn't very memorable to me, to be honest. Like, none of the Avengers were particularly memorable to me. Just really never truly. I mean, I will be honest. I'm not very easily impressed. I'm very spoiled. I will admit that I'm not very easily impressed. Yeah, in a minute. In a minute. Let me just finish this my rant on the well, my talk on the Black Panther, and then we'll get into the American Lion. So yeah, overall enjoy the movie. You know what I think would have been awesome if I think that this whole idea of the setting that they were using and the cultural background and the lore and mythology that they were trying to implement to do the film, it almost made me feel like this should have been outside of Marvel universe. As weird as it is for me to say that, but I feel like this should be a thing on its own, like in a similar manner how they've done, the Gods of Egypt. If you've watched it, like it was generally a very cool film. I think it just didn't have enough attention to certain points and just wasn't as well written. I disagree. I don't think it was all that SJW. There was only like those moments where I named in particular that I think was because you really have to understand the rhetoric of the film. I don't think it was very SJW. I was expecting it to be, but I was pleasantly surprised that it wasn't. And you know how nitpicky I am. I don't think it was. No, I disagree with that. My argument is that if you really read into it correctly, it's the way it is that um, I think it shouldn't be taken that political correctness should be introduced, but it's more so to do with that isolation, total isolation is also bad. Because I come from the background of Soviet Union. Soviet Union has been in isolation for years, and that set its country back so many years as well. And while before the Soviet Union started and before the communists came to power, prior to the revolution and all of that stuff, when the monarchy fell. Before that, it was one of the international cultural centers in Europe, Russia, and then after that. So that's what I took away from it. You're welcome to disagree, so that's fine. But that's not what I didn't get that impression that it was LGW. I just didn't like that they gave this girl lines, calling out on the guys, being colonist, and then calling him white guy or something like that, because if somebody went ahead and said something, the other way around, that would not have been, if somebody went like, to a black person and said, "Oh, black dude, what's up?" or something like, I don't know, "Hey there, slave." They would have been shut down immediately. That would have caused a massive hysteria. So let's be honest here. That was a bit of a bullcrap, and I'll say, be honest, that was a dick move. But other than that, I was happy with it. 100% happy. I love the fight scenes. I liked the fact that they used some of the melee weapons. As a matter of fact, that made me think whether I prefer a spear or a longsword because I really genuinely realized that spears can be so cool. So, although I always thought that spears were cool, but you know what I mean. Um, I haven't watched the second Guardians of the Galaxy. I started it, but I couldn't do it. Just really couldn't. Yeah, spears are cool. Spears are awesome. Now let's get into the American Lion. So what can we say? American Lion was one of the top predators. So that was basically one of the things to take. It lived during Pleistocene, if I'm pronouncing it correctly, in the North America. Hence why American lion, although obviously American means it could be even from South America too, but it was mainly the one I'm talking about is named Panthera leo atrox. And that's the one I will be working on during this stream once I finish my tea. So it was sharing its habitat with many other interesting animals, such as Columbian mammoth. Then we've got Pleistocene. Yeah, Pleistocene. Yeah, that's there we go. Thank you. So yeah, uh, then we've got Columbian mammoth, mastodon. We also had who else? Jefferson's ground sloth. There was a giant bison. There was also dire wolf. There was a Smilodon fatalis, the smaller of the species, not the smallest of the species, but one of the average size, so to say, between the Gracilis and the Populator. So that lived there as well. And what else was there? Lots of birds, obviously. I'm pretty sure there were some terror birds as well. So we're basically talking La Brea Tar Pits kind of megafauna. If you, by the way, if you want to know a bit more about that, oh yeah, the short-faced bear, the one that is the Arctodus simus, that's the one that lived in North America. So that's basically the background. It was also the line itself was very robustly built in the sense that it was probably in musculature maybe equivalent, according to at least Josh, who was here on the channel before, because he studied a lot of these lion fossils hands-on. Yeah, Glyptodont as well, I think. I don't know if it was in exactly the same period, but they could have overlapped quite easily, yes. So yeah, what else can we say? Yeah, it was very strong. It was quite, muscly. It was designed to take down prey by wrestling it. So the musculature system is definitely more robust than that of the African lion, and it's bigger. It's actually considered to be the biggest of the lions. I believe it stands at about 1.3 meters tall at the shoulders, and males, I would presume, would reach about 2.5 meters in length. And these are the sort of dimensions I'm going for in my sculpture, which I will show you in a second, because we're going to be sculpting it soon. We're almost 20 minutes in, so I'm hoping by the time it gets to 20 minutes, I'm going to try to down that cup, and then we'll get started. Yes, the Diodon. I don't remember if it lived in that period, though. I think that went extinct before that. It was probably something like Oligocene or something like that. That's what I don't know, Optimus Prime. I'm afraid I have no idea. It's hard to say. It's a good thing to ask Josh. I would definitely ask him that, but I think there's no reason to suggest why not. But then again, what would be the reason to suggest it was? You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I think Diodon was the biggest one of them. It was bigger than the Asian Parentelodont. Yeah, the tea has gotten a bit colder now, so I'm getting quicker with it. So we'll make it before 20 minutes. I don't do documentaries. They're just I just don't take them seriously, especially Nat Geo, BBC. I just prefer communicating with people from the field directly and reading science literature when I have time. But I don't. I watch documentaries for entertainment only sometimes. So yeah, not my cup of tea. So sorry, I can't elaborate more. I just really don't like them very much. They mostly lie about, well, they don't exactly lie, but they do kind of give a wrong information. They dumb it down a bit too much to the point where I just don't really. Dude, I get insulted by people all the time. It's part of the, collateral damage, if you so to speak, but it's not like there's any damage done. But yeah, of course, I've been insulted by many people. I mean, insulted by, you mean, have I been insulted, as in like, have I felt insulted, or have they tried to insult me? Yeah, of course they've tried to insult me, and they still do. So big deal. It's not like I really care, though. They can say whatever they want about me, and to me, I don't care. David Attenborough is amazing. He's really good. I will need to catch up on some of his stuff. I haven't watched a whole lot, but I've watched a few not too long ago. I watched some. I think it was something to do with birds. There was a one that about the bird that I can't remember. It was able to mimic the sounds, and Like there was so many different things that he could do. So, and yeah, that's one of the ones I remember quite well. There were other ones too. I think it was about Arctic animals, either about walrus or a polar bear. I can't remember for sure. Yeah, I'll need to catch up with David Attenborough. I mean, I like mostly to me, I like the modern documentaries because they film actual things, but everything prehistoric related, I just can't take it too seriously based on the content alone. Not no issue with the narrator or anything like that. That's all. Usually, I don't mind. But problem is that they just frequently misrepresent information, and as soon as I see this one little thing that they got wrong there, I just can't keep watching it and not think about that very thing that they got wrong. Because some of the things that they get wrong is just so obvious that I just like really feel like it's a bit surprising how much information is available and how much money they put into documentaries, and yet they don't get it right still. So I kind of feel that it's not an excuse to do that, but that's my opinion. Don't have to agree with it, but that's me explaining why I basically don't particularly like prehistoric related documentaries. Yeah, we're nearly done. Oh, 22 minutes. I was supposed to finish this by 20 minutes. Damn it. Running a bit late. No, I don't think there were any eggs discovered. And yes, Theo, I hate that program as well. Right. A bit of water. Now let's get this done. There we go. No. Right. So obviously the camera may distort some of the proportions, so don't never mind that. And yes, that's a male lion. I don't care if anybody gets offended because they saw balls. Right. Walking with Dinosaurs was all right for its time, but I mean, again, as a documentary in terms of quality, no. As a narration, just the plot, yes, maybe entertaining, but that's all I can say. Although I found Walking with Beasts particularly more interesting than Walking with Dinosaurs. Just had some many more kind of plots that I just found more interesting. I don't know why, just things. Hold on a second. Let me just grab the right tools. There we go. 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 5. And probably that. Okay, should be okay with that. And let's just try to smooth some of these things out, and we'll get going. Oh yeah, no, let's just keep this crap out of here, seriously. Enough politics and anything related to that crap. I mean, yeah, I know it's okay to talk about when we discuss movies and stuff, but let's not try to kind of give people excuse to bring this up too frequently. I don't want this to be part of this whole thing. So just gonna refine some of the fur. So as you can see, this bit here, that's already been refined a little bit. So I'm just trying to do the same thing over here and on the mane. I think first thing, well, I mean, other than obviously the presence of balls and a dick, then I think male would probably be larger, I would imagine. Then the other thing I would say, probably potentially the presence of a main, but I don't know if the main would be the same as the African one, because I don't think we have the evidence to confirm or verify the presence or absence. But I'm just giving it like a small main just to kind of highlight it, but not kind of going all floof. So yeah, this will be an interesting looking cat indeed when he is ready. And if he gets very popular, then maybe we will make him a lioness with a couple cubs as well. Right. Yeah, thanks very much, Optimus Prime. And I agree the show was ridiculously stupid. And no, I actually don't like their looks of the Spinosaurus either. I don't know. It's just really, I don't know. I don't like it. It's absolutely stupid in every possible way. They just really came up with so much idiocracy. It's like a typical awesome bro wet dream, basically. Everybody fighting each other to the death, and just the reasons that they come up with for their extinction and etc. mostly are so ridiculous. And yeah, let's hope so. Let's hope so. I certainly think, I mean, 7 is a good number, so let's hope that does bring me good luck. Just need to get this. Let me hold in here. Yeah, there we go. I'm going to be occasionally obviously picking him up here. That's why I didn't refine this part too much, because that's going to ruin the detail. Okay. Well, okay, first of all, I don't think that my feelings towards the fact that the perception of what is accurate are relevant. It's not about my feelings, it's about facts. So facts don't care about mine or your or anybody else's feelings. It's just based on scientific literature. So, and the fact that people were treating the feathers as an accurate thing, that completely had no merit to it. It was just a folklore. There was never any science literature published on it that was even acknowledging that, even as a possibility. It was just people talking about it, nothing more. So, but to answer your question, I mean, there is nothing to feel about it, because feelings are irrelevant. It's just facts. As more knowledge gets discovered, more evidence gets discovered, we just adjust to it. That's how science works. It tests the hypothesis, it disproves hypothesis, and tries to narrow down the results so that we can potentially get closer to the truth. That's the whole point of it. So I think I can't really answer how I feel about it, because I don't really feel anything, and I practically think that's irrelevant. What I do say is that I feel like it's absolutely awesome that we are discovering new things. That's what I think is awesome. I can definitely say something about that. Medievals, oh, I mean, I've personally been really interested. Oh, of course, I mean, England is a very interesting one. It had a very interesting history. But I mean, they're all kind of interesting and fascinating in their own ways, like the Kingdom of Bohemia, for example, which is now, I believe, Czech Republic. That's quite interesting as well. I also like Holy Roman Empire, although I think Bohemia was kind of part of the Holy Roman Empire, although I always got confused whether they were part of each other or they were separate, like, because Holy Roman Empire controlled a large territory. So, but yeah, I mean, Holy Roman Empire in general was interesting. I specifically liked the whole Gothic style of armor that they were using and wearing and stuff, much of which was partially due to the different places like South German armor manufacturers. And you have the Italian one, which is also quite interesting. So yeah, I mean, probably England and Holy Roman Empire, I would say, were my most favorite. But I don't even really have particular reason to say why. I just really don't have one. It's just the first thing that came to my mind. Hmm. Thanks for the likes as well, whoever is leaving them. Very kind of you indeed. Right, let's just. Right, okay, I'm gonna have to go down a little bit, and you're gonna be watching my shaved head for quite a bit because I need to get at a certain angle here. I'm gonna need to open the window a little bit because it's gonna get a bit hot. So just give you a bit of a view just so you can at least see a few things on it. So that's basically the current work in progress. By the way, if you haven't already done this, uh, please make sure you follow the link to my page and subscribe to it as well. And feel free to check out the stuff I currently have for sale. Bear in mind that 1:35 scale T-Rex might get retired because the molds are just kind of pretty bad for it. So that's probably not gonna be on sale. I'm just gonna keep it as a past work, but it's probably not gonna be coming back. Or if it is ever gonna come back, it will come back in a different form. I don't know. I mean, to be honest, I have no idea whether it's possible or not. I mean, it's Hollywood, so I prefer not to overanalyze it anymore because it's really no point. Hollywood will make anything possible if that's what they want to do at this point, and they don't care about anything, whether it's continuity or consistency, realism. They'll just do stuff because that's what gets people into the movie theaters, and that's what they need. I'm okay, people cursing, but just don't do it a bit too much. Just try to not kind of shoehorn it in every possible at every opportunity, because if I'm gonna see people literally just spamming, swearing words, I'm gonna have to start issuing warnings here or banning. So if it's within the context, then I don't mind, but don't kind of do it for the sake of doing it. Um, what sort of things are you hearing in the background? Can you tell me what is it that you're hearing? What? I don't even know where that could be coming from, if that's the case. I mean, my lighting bulb up there, that can make some noise because I specifically put a better lighting into the room for this stream. But I don't know how truly noisy that gets on its own. I don't really know. So if I turn it off, though, it may have been a temporary thing as well. Yeah, I don't even know if that's, even if it was something. But because I mean, the thing is, I can't hear it obviously because that's basically down to whatever my microphone is picking up. A car could have gone past, yes, and yeah, I can hear cars quite well. You will also occasionally hear planes flying because I'm about 30 minutes away from the airport, so that can happen too. Right now, for example, there is a police or ambulance siren that's going on in outside world, basically. So if you hear any of that, then just letting you know that even I can hear it from here, and the microphone picks up noise quite well. I mean, American Lion was larger than Smilodon fatalis. Like, so I would imagine that one versus one, if it's a male versus male, basically. In my opinion, I would think that lion would mostly come out on top. But I mean, those situations can potentially change. Yes, Mylodon may have also been getting advantage just by the sheer factor of intimidation with those big saber fangs. So that could be a possibility. But then the lion was bigger and stronger. So because Fatalis was not the bigger species, because they weren't getting bigger in that area. They were getting bigger in South America, uh, where there were no lions, basically. I think Smilodon populator and Panthera leoatrox were kind of, on average, very similar, but I think lion was still a bit bigger. And the biggest one is the short-faced bear, but it's not the North American one. It's the South American short-faced bear called the Arctotherium. That one was even bigger than the Arctodus simus. And no, I don't think there is really any evidence of pack hunting in Smilodon. I don't think so. No, polar bear was smaller than the short-faced bear, I think, and the Arctotherium, at least the South American short-faced bear, was definitely larger than a polar bear. I think those two short-faced bears were the largest ones, with the South American one even larger. No, no, no. Leotrox was not larger than polar bear. Of course not. It can't be. We're talking about the short-faced bear versus the polar bear, not Leotrox versus the polar bear. I'm trying to make sure that I aim my tip of the thingamajiggy brush, not the other tip, obviously, in the right spot to, make sure I get this fur texture, because it takes freaking ages to do the fur. That's one of the reasons why I'm not particularly always enthusiastic about doing the fluffy animals, because it just takes ages to get something done. So after this lion, I'm probably not going to be touching any hairy mammals for a long time. Thingamajiggy, that's like reference to pretty much many other things. It's very popular in Australia as well. That's where I got it from, actually. But then I obviously started watching Best in Slot video, and I realized that he's using that a lot as well, which is interesting. That's the thing. I don't think it was a runner. I think it was more like an ambush predator built for, power takedowns. So I don't expect it was a runner. It wasn't built for running, to my understanding. It was actually quite robustly built. And most of the times, if something like that robustly built, it's usually not a chaser. It's probably very likely either an ambush predator or it was just something that would go against larger prey to overpower it, maybe like sloths and stuff like that. Good question. I actually don't know, but it's a good question. I'm interested as well if there is any evidence of them borrowing, And as for the Halloween, yeah, people here in Britain celebrate Halloween as well, but I haven't personally dressed up for anything like that for a long time, and I don't intend to this year either, unless obviously I get invited to a party or something, but I don't expect that will happen because I really don't think there's really much to it. Most of the times you end up spending a lot of money on an expensive costume and you don't really get much out of it anyway, and then you're just lying around collecting dust. Hmm. Yeah, it's one of the things that gets a little bit um, annoying. Sometimes you have to really refine some of that detail and texture here, and the under parts are the most annoying because you have to. I will have to flip this over in a few moments, but that will give me some rest as well, so I can just sit on my ass instead of just sitting on the floor. why would they be tiny? I mean, I don't see any reason to think so. I don't understand what you're talking about, really, mate. Yeah, I'm not sure what actually. Did you mean tiny or did you mean something else? Because I thought it was tiny, but I wasn't sure what that mistype means, or if it's an abbreviation that I don't understand. So, context, please. Oh my goodness. I mean, it's gonna look amazing once it's done. I'm pretty sure it's gonna be a nice model, but it's gonna take me ages to do because of all this crazy fur. But hey, at least we're gonna have an American lion resin kit available in the nearest future. So there is that good news. They probably challenge each other for a dispute over territory or dominance, and then it will be a matter of who backs away, or they will end up wrestling like all the cats usually do. And the first one who gets his ass handed to him will run away. That's pretty much how I would expect it to go down. I would, first of all, I would not be working in a theme park like Jurassic Park for many reasons, which I think are quite obvious. But if I were in that hypothetical situation, if I were there, and I would encourage the idea to not feed them live food, but rather just populate them in a specific kind of reserve, similar to the Lost World, and let them hunt whatever they want to hunt. Also, I never understood why. Also, never understood why goat was a thing. It's just, I think that's one of the idiotic things that they've introduced to it, which I never understood personally. So no, goats are not gonna be a thing for a T-Rex. I don't get why that even was supposed to be a thing, and why specifically a goat. Whatever. I don't know. Okay. Let me go back. So you mean whether or not this megafauna should be reintroduced as in what? Brought back to life? I don't know. Like I said, I don't really discuss ethics of such things. Not my place to say. I'll just say this: if it ever gets reintroduced and I get the chance to see it from a safe distance or take pictures, I would surely love to. But whether it's a good idea or not, I can't really tell. I don't. I prefer not to get into that kind of discussion because that raises a lot of ethical issues, which are very hard to resolve. Yeah, sure. Hang on a second. Remember when I was painting this? Yeah, hang on. I'll show you some other stuff. But for this one, for the Oviraptor, I have a better idea. I can show you a picture. Just drop you a link, and yeah, I'll be able to see it better because the lighting is a bit too, uh, let's just say, cold. Yeah, hang on a moment. Let me just drop you the link to it and. Come on, don't be so slow. Well, I would probably assume it's a girl, so let's just say it's a girl. Right. Okay. Let's flip this guy over for a bit. And, can I just point this out once and for all? Dinosaurs show no evidence of having lips. End of discussion on that topic. I'm sorry, I don't want to sound mean here, but like I've said this so many times already, and I presume it's pretty much the same people asking same questions. Like, there is no evidence of dinosaurs of any kind having lips. There's all there is to it. I mean, yeah, sure, some teeth may have been they're just small and barely poking out, but that does not mean they had lips that would cover it like that. There would still be a bit of an overbite, it just wouldn't be as big in some cases. And that's according to what the science lit and the fossil record shows us. If anybody disagrees, well, they're welcome to doing so, but they would have to produce a good evidence from scientific literature that can either trump this hypothesis or at least present something equally as valid as that hypothesis, which we haven't seen being done yet, which is why I won't accept the statements of people trying to make a claim that they were with lips. It doesn't mean you have to obviously accept my arguments if you don't want to, but if you come to me and try to make a claim, don't do expect me obviously to say stuff. No, that's just a beak. The one on my Oviraptor is just a beak. There's no lips there. Yeah, I heard of this thing actually. That's quite interesting. Well, I mean, I don't consider it cool because, well, it wasn't realistic. Unless there is evidence that shows it to be realistic, then sure, but I don't really like the putting into the factor of cool just because whatever. Somebody likes it, sure thing. You're welcome to like it, but I'm never gonna be convinced that it's cool, even if it's not realistic. But then again, arguing about what's cool is pointless. I think Antarctica was warmer, yes, at the times when there were dinosaurs alive in there. But I'm pretty sure there was something out there, like a paper that described it. Both in Antarctica and even in Alaska, I believe there was still not particularly a cold climate in that period. Or those periods, shall I say, because obviously the dinosaurs of Alaska that I was referring to mainly, and Antarctica, they are from different periods. But I believe in both of them, the papers, if only I could remember which ones, they never described anything that would remotely resemble the modern day kind of climate. Nope, because tyrannosaurids didn't lose their feathers, they didn't have them. They have scaly integument. That's not the same thing. Deinocheirus is from a Maniraptoran family that is primarily known to be filamentous. And whether they lost their filaments as part of the ontogeny, that's a good question. But I would not compare this to tyrannosaurids in any way. These are completely different things. And the processes you're describing, they don't apply to tyrannosaurids if you're talking about losing filaments or feathers. No, but that would not make them lips, though, would it? It just means that their overbite doesn't stick out too much, but that's the general pattern of the layout of anatomy would still be the same as any other theropod. So it doesn't really make a difference. It might appear like as an illusion, perhaps, but that's say I would say that's the most I can probably give it, in my opinion. Again, so I would still not call it lips, but whatever. I prefer to kind of use as much correct terminology where it's applicable and wherever possible, personally. I mean, obviously, I won't be going off on you at you just for being like, no, like no, it's not like that. But I wouldn't. I would prefer to stick to the proper terminology where I can. That's considering that I'm generally not very good with terminology, but where I can, I try to use that if appropriate and where appropriate. Well, they are both from Hadrosaurida family, and I think they are very closely related. Like, probably, I think they are closer to each other than, say, both of them are to any Lambeosaurin Hadrosaurids. I would say this way. But I haven't checked their phylogeny very much, so I need to double check it. But I think they are very close related to each other. Sorry, guys. Yes, two medicine formation. What would that mean? I'm listening. That's possible. I mean, like I said, they are indeed each other's close relatives, so that's very possible. And that would still make their relationship close with Edmontosaurus regalis as well, because, well, they are the same species of, they're different species of the same taxa. So if you're saying that the one species of the taxa is related to another taxa, that would still imply that the other species of the same taxa is also related to the other taxon. Yeah, maybe. In that part, maybe. We don't know that, whether they're wrong about the Splitosaurus being ancestor to a T-Rex or not. We don't actually have any definitive evidence to disprove that hypothesis, because both hypotheses are so far quite, you know, on a stalemate, I would say. Like whether you choose to decide, to believe that it had an Asian ancestry, or whether it was indeed a Daspletosaurus corneri. There may yet to be more evidence discovered to potentially show a better picture. I personally consider both hypotheses quite valid. Some might favor one over the other. I personally don't. I consider them both to be valid to a degree. I'm sorry, I don't understand the question. What do you mean, does it matter what? I mean, technically, it was the last Tyrannosaurid. So I guess yes would be the answer, unless you meant something else. Well, it's just his, suggestion. I mean, I don't think that still completely eliminates other possibilities, because obviously, like I said, there needs to be more data to test both hypotheses, and enough data perhaps to test them both and eliminate one, or eliminate both of them and come up with a totally different one, which I don't think we have right now. It's just Dr. Carr's interpretation, which could be very correct, because so far, aside maybe a minor few things, I'm generally on board with what he comes up with. But there are some times where I can say that he himself even admits that some of the hypotheses that he comes up with, they don't have enough data to actually test them and verify them. Whether the hypothesis is gonna stay or get disproved, that's still under a big question mark. Remember, saying so never makes it so. You have to actually be able to prove the hypothesis if you want to say yes, that's what it is. You want a science, you got a evidence. Oh my goodness. All right, one more time. Oh my goodness. Right, yeah. So some of the parts here have not been refined yet. Um, oh. Yeah, it gets a bit tiring. Well, I don't think it was more massive than a T-Rex. It will probably be about the same. So yeah, there are some skeletal parts that are suspected to have been from larger specimens, like almost say similar in size as Shantungosaurus. But on average, Edmontosaurus and Ectins were probably about the same size as T-Rex, and the mass variations could vary greatly between individuals, I presume. So some maybe were more massive, others more or less. So not sure. I would probably say less, but could be about the same. Some may have been even bigger, so it's hard to say. I would say they're about the same or similar. Also, but saying like 4 times the average T-Rex, that's a bit of a stretch. And I think I have already made it clear enough that you shouldn't just trust everything on the internet. You should actually verify the sources. So, I mean, I see many things on the internet on a daily basis, so that doesn't mean it's true. Yeah, some people have actually pointed out that one of the ways to potentially look at American lion is to reference Liger. But then again, we need evidence. Well, again, was it able to do that? Yes, I'm sure it was, but you have to provide context. In what situation? What are the circumstances? What animals are involved? How many? What are the circumstances of that, you know, confrontation or interaction? Because simply saying yes or no, that would be probably a yes, but again, that wouldn't really give you a very accurate picture because somebody else would say no, but they would be basing their answer on a different context and a different scenario. So you have to define a scenario before, if you want to get a straight to the point answer. Yeah, okay. Well, I don't think a T-Rex was a chaser. It was clearly built for power. So whatever prey it was catching, first of all, I don't think it would hunt them alone most of the time, and if it did, it would not go for the biggest and healthiest of the adults. And lastly, it would not use its speed to chase them, it would use its power to overpower them physically. And that would require certain circumstances to be met for that to be possible. And the best way to do that is to ambush and prevent yourself from getting stabbed or hammered, depending on what type of prey one is attacking. And of course, to allow yourself the element of surprise, a good grip in a vulnerable spot to control and manipulate the prey. And then the rest is just part of the patience and process, and hoping that one is strong enough to do what it needs to do for that to be able to come to pass. I don't know. I mean, I'm not like I said before already as well. I'm not particularly good at understanding pterosaurs, especially when it comes to diet. I mean, I would imagine they would eat anything small enough or that's available. Generally, I consider that group of pterosaurs to be omnivores, but they could well eat probably anything that's available. I don't really think there was particularly a fuss about what to eat as far as they were concerned. Anything that becomes available, I'm pretty sure that was on the menu. Are you talking about Majungasaurus, or there's something else that I haven't heard of before? Please let me know what you meant, if it was maybe a mistype. And if it's a Majungasaurus, then unfortunately, that would require me to have a good look at the teeth themselves. So I wouldn't be able to say for sure, straight from my head. It's possible that they were also somewhere in between, like an adaptation, because Abelisaurids mostly come from earlier periods, all the way, not earlier, but like middle, all the way to the end, I think. They're more later period animals, so they would probably adapt to a combination of different things. or whatever was in their environments, of course, because you'd have to understand what other animals were in their prey in order to better understand what sort of things they were hunting and how they would have hunted them potentially. Reason why we understand so well about tyrannosaurids is that mostly a similar consistency can be observed in all of their respective environments and periods. Hey, Ignas, how you doing? Well, I don't consider his art to be paleo art, to be honest. It's mostly just pure fiction. So I define paleo art slightly differently, and I'm not particularly a big fan. I'll be straight up about it. I don't have anything against the guy. I'm only looking at what he produces. And based on that alone, I can say I'm not a fan, and I don't. But then again, it's good quality in terms of how well he does the technique and all of that. That's really nice. But generally speaking, I'm not on board with how he portrays dinosaurs. And I do not consider that to be a paleo art because that's not consistent with scientific literature. It's just basically fictional dinosaur art, but it's not paleo art. Yeah, I'm all right. Thank you very much. As you can see, sculpting this lion, working on the mane first, and then once I do the mane, refine some details here at the front. And once I finish that, then we'll start doing all the back. And hopefully, if I'm lucky, by the end of today, we might even complete this figure. If not, then I'll just do the finishing touches later if I get too tired and need to go to sleep, or if I need to get some food. Just let me see if I can show you some more what I've done so far. Yeah, I'm trying to actually remember if it is at the shoulder height. Yeah, it's 1 centimeter actually taller than it's supposed to be, but we're just not gonna. We're just gonna say it's okay. Lengthwise, it's actually accurate. So it should have been a bit shorter at the shoulder, a little bit shorter. Don't apologize if you're wrong. I don't see the need for people to apologize if they're wrong about getting certain information. So don't do that. There's absolutely no reason for you to do that. Mistakes are there to teach you. And these are not particularly terrible mistakes to apologize for them. Okay, sorry. Nice one. Right. So this side is nearly done. Just a few more things, and we're almost good to go on the other side. No, no, I don't watch that. I don't even think I recognize the name. The Rock or Jason Statham? I don't know. It's hard to say. I would probably say Rock would probably have him, but then again, that would depend. If you're talking about real life, I would need to know what's their martial arts skill, as in like proper martial arts skill, because size is not the only thing that matters here. When it comes to these things, it's a lot more complicated than that. It's usually quite a good advantage, but again, Bruce Lee could beat up guys probably twice or his size. I'm pretty sure, just because he's so fast and capable, was so fast and capable with his technique. His size was the only disadvantage, but he compensated with that for sure. So again, it depends on the martial arts skills and the settings as well. Are we talking about a fight on a ring with specific rules applied? Are we talking about a street fight where there are no rules? What's the context? You know what I mean? Like, so it depends. I would definitely say that The Rock would probably be physically stronger. So yeah, yeah. If he beat the freaking mega shark, then Rock is probably gonna be a walk in the park for him. Yeah, probably. I still haven't seen it, by the way. I'll need to watch it. How relatable are ceratopsians to boar? Well, they're not related at all. Where have you been, mate? Have you been sleeping through, all the discussions and science that's been done up to these days? I'm joking, by the way. No, they're not related at all. But then again, it depends what you meant by the question. Context, guys, context matters. Provide context to your questions. The answers depend on the context you provide. Hope that makes sense. Jurassic Park, first and the second. Everything else does not exist. Well, then you have to ask specifically how relatable they are in their roles in ecosystem. Because when you say how relatable are ceratopsians to boar, that literally means whether they are related to each other. I'm just answering the questions based on what I'm hearing. I don't know what you meant by it. I'm not here to read your minds. So if you want me to give you a straight answer, provide context. You're getting what you're getting based on the context you provide. That's just life. In that case, I don't really know because it would depend a lot on how would you. I mean, boars are. I don't know if they frequently fall prey to bigger animals like bears. Do bears hunt boars? That's a good question. Because that's about the only big predator I can think of that I know of, at least, that can hunt a boar which shares the same ecosystem with them. At least that's true in Russia. Like in Russia, we have a brown bear and we have also a wild boar. I think that's probably true for many European countries as well. But yeah, cattle, I would say cattle is probably something I personally would find them more relatable to as well. Not particularly like, relatable in an ecological niche to boars. But yeah, cattle would be a good analog if you're talking about the ecosystem niche analysis. And even then, you would have to be very careful because obviously there are many things that can dictate the potential niche function. I mean, some of the larger ceratopsians, I would even go as far as saying that they could play a similar role as elephants, except that when it comes to ecological niche, we need to understand what they were eating. Yeah, yeah, there we go. We've got the warthog, I think. The pomba, basically. Pomba. Right. Good question. Don't know if there's any way to really answer it, though. Like many others. I mean, I'm pretty sure it had something to do with things about because there was a lot of continental changes going on. Maybe the prey items were beginning to disappear. Disappearance of prey for sure. Competition, I don't know, maybe, but I would probably say disappearance of prey is one of the more likely contributing factors. But there's usually a combination. Yeah, therefore aliens. I don't know, therefore aliens. Right, 2052. Okay. There we go. Balls in the face. Sorry. Just realized that that came out wrong. Hold on a second. I just want to make sure I understand. Oh, so that's basically a woolly mammoth. Okay. Well, I think it's quite obvious as well. Mammoth is gonna kick his ass. If it's, and again, depends what mammoth. As in, like, healthy, fully grown in its prime. So, if both are healthy in their prime, I don't see a lion standing a chance. It's gonna get owned. If it's like a even ground 1-to-1 without, say, anything else getting into an account. I mean, imagine an African lion, male lion, for example, trying to go one-on-one with an elephant. Mm-mm. He may have been able to pounce, maybe, but I don't think it was particularly great at it, given that it's for a dromaeosaurid. I think it's quite heavily built. In fact, I think it's the most heavily built in in proportion of all the dromaeosaurids. So maybe it wasn't really using that as a tactic. Maybe they just simply went after a prey that's slow enough and yet small enough at the same time to take down. Because bear in mind, they probably would not have needed to eat a whole lot. They could probably take down a single, like, below average size animal, and that would probably feed the whole pack. Yeah, exactly. But then again, don't forget the body plan also matters. It's not just about the, you know, size or weight overall, it's also the distribution of weight and where the most mass is concentrated and how it's distributed. Because technically, I'll give you a context example. If you are going to dress up um, a person weighing about, let's say, 65 kgs, and you're going to dress them in a full medieval plate armor, that's gonna give it another at least third of a weight, maybe more than that, maybe about half of it, because I think it's about 35 kgs altogether, that armor weight, including everything, you know. And even they have been filmed and shown to be able to jump, roll around, and also do a front flip. So the weight itself, yeah, we have. I don't think we have any evidence of over 500 kgs. So at least not that I know of. I'll need to brush up on my dromaeosaurs a little bit, but to my understanding, I don't think there was ever any evidence for it, or at least no skeletals that would suggest that such an animal could go up to that kind of weight. But yeah, when you're talking about the ability to jump or do certain things, you have to bear in mind of, you know, weight distribution itself. How would that work? Um, to my understanding, I don't think they could. But then again, I haven't really dug into that. I know noticed that I say that a lot in this particular live stream, but I don't think they could. At least that's what I've heard anyway. There must have been a paper on it as well, or something that suggested further down the line that this was probably not likely. But I need to brush up on it as well. There must have been a paper somewhere that I've seen on the subject. If anybody remembers, let us know. Well, again, one thing, believing is one thing, but is there a test to that hypothesis? I mean, I'd like to see if there's actually been any way to test the hypothesis. Because it's one thing when people say they believe something, but, you know, we always try to disprove hypothesis to narrow it down. And if it survives the scrutiny, then this makes the hypothesis valid as a consequence. So, sure enough, hypotheses are always welcome, but they have to have a good chance to stand up against scrutiny and criticism. That's why I always want to know whether or not it has been tested. And the way to test it is to see if there's any scientific publication that can test this hypothesis further down. Yep. Pteranodon resin kit will be interesting as well. I'm looking forward to sculpting that one. But what I think I'll do once I finish this one, the lion, I'll probably actually switch over to a Stegosaurus because I really want to make that kit as quickly as possible first, and then I will just continue with the rest of them as I planned originally. I don't know. Whenever I have time to really do that sort of, outline, because right now I'm quite a bit busy, so I don't really have time for doing these little things. Right now, I kind of want to focus more on my work with the sculpting and making more kits. So priorities. Hopefully soon, but at the time it's not on top of my priority. It's gonna happen, but I can't promise anything yet, as in like the time frame, because I have other things on the priority list. We're not discussing political topics here, so forget about it. I mean, I don't mind sometimes, obviously, sharing thoughts when it comes to specific movies on the subjects where it's appropriate, but generally, things like that I don't discuss. But to kind of at least not let you walk away without an answer, I'll just say I don't think anything of it. I don't see how that's relevant to me personally. That's all I can say. But that's obviously within the context of your question. But I'll say no more of that, and that's discussion basically ends where I just left it. Yeah, it's not bad. Kind of getting around doing the main here and there. So slowly, slowly, we're getting there. Yeah, stability, and also it could have been an inherited straight from the previous Casmosaurans as well. And in case of process, as correctly pointed out, yes, it could even be better implemented because I think process compensates with a slightly shorter brow horns with a longer nasal horn, in contrast to, say, Horridus. Guys, I don't mean to be disrespectful, but English, please, in this chat. I'm not an English speaker myself, but if anybody even came here speaking Russian, I would be encouraging them to speak English because I want everybody to understand what's going on. If you want to have a private discussion, then feel free to go wherever you want to do that. But in the chat, please keep it English. Joe Budden, you mean the rapper Joe Budden, right? If that's the one I think it is, then I don't know. Let me actually have a look. I've been told other things. I've been told many times that I look like Thierry Henry, the football player from Arsenal. I've also been told that by somebody, although I don't consider that a very likely possibility, but that I look a bit like this. What's his name? Marlon Wayans. Oh, yeah, okay, okay. I can see where you're coming from. Yeah, sort of. Yeah, that's an interesting one. Yeah, Joe Biden. I need to add that to the list. The amount of black guys out there that I look like apparently is just insane. Although I mean, unless miraculously there may be a proven direct relationship between black people and Armenians. And again, black people is a very umbrella term because there are many different black people as well. But yeah, if there is a direct relationship, that may well be the explanation. Because I know I'm 100% pure, at least in the nearest ancestry. I don't know of any potential mixes in my line, so that could well be the case. Well, proportions are basically, there's a very interesting thing about it. First of all, it's the camera perspective. So technically, um, the limbs are supposed to be relatively long, but then again, it's correct in length, but apparently it's taller in shoulders in my sculpture than it's supposed to be, which is a bit weird. But I don't know. I was looking at the references that I could find out there, and also I've been consulting with a guy who has dug them up personally. So that's as far as I could take it. So if there is obviously a mistake, then again, this is the first mammal I've ever done in my life, by the way. So there we go. That explains it too, I guess. Sorian's Anzu. Well, I generally like the model. I think it's very nice. And whether or not the female would have been that much smaller, that's a good question. I don't know. If there's no evidence for it, I would not be taking that up for a claim, so to say, if I were in their place. But then again, there are many other things I would not do if I were in their place, which, again, their business, their product, let them have it. Yeah, I'm telling you, there is some like it's also to do with the fact that I've cut my beard the same way, and also because of the lighting, maybe. I don't know if there is any evidence for sexual dimorphism in them. I don't think so. And if their decision and claim is based on unpublished material, therefore it cannot be considered accurate. You can only use the whole accuracy thing if you're using published material in science literature. If it's an unpublished material yet, then you can't use it and reference it. So I don't know. Like I said, their product, their business. I'm just minding my business. I wish we actually had at least a cast of American lion skeleton here in the UK in the museum. That would have really been nice to get a good look at it up close. But even if the proportions are indeed wrong, then I think it's still only going to be noticed by a very small portion. And I mean, would you consider that it's really off-putting where you were personally seeing the mistake, provided that you are correct? Do you think it's really off-putting, or do you think it still works? Kinda. What are your thoughts? If you're still here, I hope, Diloraptor. Oh, and yeah, thanks. Oh my goodness. Let's see. Mm. Uh, yes, there are plans for it. And yes, they are going to be in the same scale 1 to 10. So you're going to have some big ass elephants and mammoths one day. And I hope that day comes sooner than later. According to my record, a Colombian mammoth will be about 50 centimeters in length, maybe, or 45, I can't remember. So it's about this much in length. And in height, I think, hold on a second, let me check my notes. Buy yourself a mansion, dude. Problem solved. Win a lottery and buy a mansion. Hold on a second. Let me quickly get my notes for the sculpting so I can take a look at which dimensions are recorded. Just give me a few moments. Denver Saurus. Actually, funny thing about it is that it used to be like he said below as well. It was believed to be a species of Edmontonia, but it ultimately ended up getting its own taxon later on. But it's the same family. It's incredibly similar in looks to Edmontonia, to my understanding at least. Let's take a look at. Oh, actually, make it more fun. Let's look at the Paleoloxodon nomadicus, which is the largest species of straight-tusked elephant, 65 centimeters long. So that means this much in length, right? And it's 45 centimeters tall at shoulder. 48, sorry. That's the one. That's the value I picked anyway, because there were conflicting values, so I picked the average. This tall. Yes, I will. Nomadicus, eventually. I'm that crazy. I'm gonna do it. I don't care. I'm gonna do it. Even if it's gonna take up the rest of my house. Well, not really, but you know what I'm saying. But I'm still gonna do it one of these days. I wanna do some nice big ass elephants as well from that period. Dude, you asked me this question before, and I can answer exactly the same way. Just look up which periods they lived in, and just go from there. I mean, I can't remember from the top of my head which ones to go for, but just do some Google search. Just go for what interests you. I mean, that's all I can suggest. No, don't just, I don't know. Like, I always found it strange when people say, hey, can you suggest me to do something? Do what you like. That's all I'm suggesting. Do whatever the hell you want. Isn't that the point? But if you really want me to be mean, make a sculpture of a 1 to 10 scale Argentinosaurus. Have fun. Yes, Paleoloxodon and the Colombian mammoth. Also, I want to do a Stegotetrabelodon, the one with 4 tusks. I want to do that one as well. And then I want to put them next to each other. And the other one I want to make is a mastodon, because I want to complete the collection the best way possible for the Labrea tarpis. But that mastodon is not all that big. It's still big, but it's not nearly as big as these ones. But yeah, this is going to be a very exciting lineup of collections eventually. You can try, yes. Twitter is AK150884, if I'm correct. Can't remember because I don't use it very often. But if you want to do that, yes, you can, because I can specifically log in at one point. You can also direct message me on DeviantArt if you want as well. That's also possible. I don't hang out there very often either, but I do sometimes go in from time to time. And if you are on Facebook and if you have by any chance joined any of the groups where I'm active, then you could try to contact me there or post it in a Paleo World Creative Corner group if you're a member. And one of the admins is Josh. He's the guy who dug them up as well, so he can help out too. Yeah, American Mastodon, yeah. Yeah, I think I'm thinking about adding Dinotherium too, because it's a very weird looking elephant creature, and I think it doesn't look like anything else at all. So those kind of things that basically look like nothing else, those are the ones that are probably gonna be on my target list at one point or another. Right now, um, what I have on my current list, which is gonna be in my next lineup after I obviously finish sculpting my current lineup, it will be, according at least to the votes in the Facebook groups as well that I added all together, I've got Allosaurus fragilis, then I've got a Triceratops, both species, and by making the kit specific way, I can also do some replaceable parts to make it either a Triceratops horridus or Prorsus, or I can do a Torosaurus latus, and I can also do a Bravoceratops. So yeah, those four creatures can be done by doing certain parts around there and then, because they are similarly sized extremely, and differences in the body plan are practically negligible. Then I've got Smilodon fatalis versus Jefferson's ground sloth in the tar pits. That's the one I'm also going to be doing next, in the next lineup, I mean. And I've got a T-Rex, I've got a Tarbosaurus, Torvosaurus taneri, Giganotosaurus, Cosmoceratops, a Dinosuchus riograndensis, and I've got a Ceratosaurus. So there we go. That's the lineup of next 10 creatures that I will do once I complete my current lineup. And my current lineup is nearly finished. So hopefully I'll be able to get started at some of them before the New Year's for sure. Maybe even before the end of this month, if I'm extremely swift with my sculpting. Because it's not just the sculpting part, it's also the part where I have to then go out and get myself materials and turn them into kits so I can start producing them. Yes, you can. You should be able to. If it allows you to send images, then definitely do it there. That's a good one. Yeah, because I check that page regularly. Against Macrocanthosaurus? No, I don't think there is any chance at all. Size disadvantage, body plan disadvantage, many disadvantages. So no, I don't think there is much of a chance. If they were to go into a duel properly, I think Suchomimus would get its ass kicked in that fight if they were to fight properly, which I doubt they would even if they met, because I can understand people like to, pit things against each other because it's a bit of an awesome bro syndrome syndrome that everybody goes through at one point or another. I've already got over it, so I don't really do these things no more very much. I used to kind of think, oh, what if this, what if that? Now I kind of don't really get into these things very much. But if they were to really go for it, then yeah, I would say Acrocanthosaurus would own it. All right, and let's turn this over. Yeah, that's what I was gonna say as well. They're not built for this kind of thing because they're not built to take down very powerful animals. Although even Carcharodontosaurids, I mean, the way they take down their animals probably was completely different from the way, say, a Tyrannosaurid would do it. They were also not particularly power oriented, but they were much more powerful than Spinosaurids for sure, if you were to make that comparison. A Carcharodontosaurid known as Eocarchia is also lived in the same period as Suchomimus, but unfortunately, it's only skull fragments I think that are known. So if there was more information, that would be interesting because apparently this this Carcharodontosaurid is frequently suggested to have been a very similar one to Acrocanthosaurus, but just smaller in size. And even that one has a very good chance, I think, if it was a smaller version of Acro, it would still probably do quite well against something like a Sucho. I don't expect a Sucho to be particularly powerful to stand up against something like that. Yes, let's have a look. I'll might as well do that now if I can quickly. Yeah, I've seen a similar kind of reconstruction as well. So yeah, I think what I've done here is I've also oriented the pose of the because my legs are slightly bent here. So if I were to straighten them up like yours, more static pose, I would expect that it would actually straighten up a bit. And if I put the head a bit above, so that could kind of be consistent with what you've done, give or take, of course. And also I've applied the mane. Therefore, this obviously area here is much thicker. So I'd say even if there is some problem with proportions, I probably assume it would be minor, just based on my observation here. But that is provided that my observation is correct. No, 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 they never met. Spinosaurus is from a later period and from a different place as well. Spinosaurus is from Bakharia Formation in Egypt, to our knowledge, and Sarcosuchus is from Niger in El Ras Formation, which is a couple million years older than the Bakharia Formation. Oh my god, this fur takes ages, man. Most of the papers. Oh, hey Nolan, by the way, thanks for stopping by. Just noticed that you came up here. So yeah, most of the papers I find. Sometimes Google helps, yes, and most of the times I just get them from my friends from paleontology, from the field. Those who basically are professional paleontologists or who work in museums and stuff like that a lot of times because I communicate with a lot of them and they sometimes have a good access to material that has a paywall. So they just by somehow they find their ways in and they just share the material. That's how we kind of basically get to them. Well, I don't think of anything of people because I don't know the people who are reconstructing them with feathers. But if you're going to ask me maybe a slightly different kind of question, say what I think about that piece of work, I'll just I'll just toss it into a fiction bin material. But of course, if somebody claims that this is supposed to be accurate or plausible because speculation, then well, I got news for you. Science disagrees. Yeah, they have very similar basic shape, as many cosmosaurians do, especially earlier period cosmosaurians, but they are significantly different in their sizes. But Pentaceratops skull is actually quite big for its body as well, because its body is not particularly as big as I think it was suggested at any point. Because it suggested, I think it's about like what 6 meters in length altogether, while the skull and the frill itself is quite big in proportion for the penta. So, but there is quite a significant amount of difference between them, and also the size of the horns as well. Yeah, exactly. It was also very light for its size, and it still had a pretty massive head for its proportions too. Oh my goodness, this fur takes ages, but I have to finish it though. Like maybe not in this go, but that's the whole point. I need to make sure I refine it so that it gets to the point where I'm definitely gonna be happy with it. Let's do some stuff on the face actually. Or no, no, wait, I need to do the bottom here. Forgot about this side. Mhm. Yeah, this fur does take freaking ages. Right, okay, I'll get my hands to rest a little bit, and in the meantime, I'll show you some of the other things that I have done. Yeah, sorry, but that's a bit of a spam, don't you think? Ta-da! And ta-da! Quick flash. of things. The ugly stego is the Papostegosaurus, as you, well, quoting you directly. Don't worry, we'll replace it with a proper stegosaurus soon when I make mine. Oh, bloody hell. No, it's just I'm very try to focus on the process, and it's really tiring. The fuck is that? Whew. Makes me think that yeah, I'm gonna probably need to do more on this side, or maybe not. Well, let's do this side. It's actually a bit more done, and we can in the meantime focus on that area here. So, well, we got 6 people for now. Okay. Yeah, maybe next time I need to really try to make an announcement as soon as I can. Sometimes I just really don't know whether I'm able to make it. So that's usually one of the reasons and the problems why I cannot always make a announcement long way ahead. That would have really helped. I think maybe more people could have been able to come along. Yep. That's all we have to do. Instead of not saying that you're doing that, but I'm just generally speaking now, not referencing what you said here, Optimus Prime, but kind of following up on the thought. process. It's better to focus on doing your own thing instead of just spending too much time poking around and discussing or sticking, where other people are doing their thing. That's one of the reasons you don't see me ranting as often as I used to, because every time I spend on ranting, it means that detracts from the time that I would have to do something like this. I'd rather do this instead of ranting, to be honest. Which Tyrannosaurus skull, by the way? Well, if you have enough money to do that and make it possible, let me know and I'll come by and check it out. Yeah, first it's all wow, oh, and then later there's running and screaming. No, I mean which T-Rex in particular, or something generic that combines features like that's what I was meaning to ask. Which specimen? Sorry, should have been a bit more clear. I meant which specimen. Sometimes because of the lighting, it's hard to tell if I'm getting the shapes right or wrong. Yeah, I need to do the eyebrows check before I do any texture on it to check the symmetry. Yeah, now down to just getting all these little bits and pieces to add more depth to it. That takes ages, freaking ages. I'm not even joking. That's why furry animals are just that crazy when it comes to sculpting. Because if you really want to make them good, then you have to add more depth to this texture. I'm pretty sure it will pay off eventually, but it's just really, really like taking ages, man. Absolutely ages. Sorry. Have to click. Yeah, I don't think we're gonna be finished with this guy before the end of the session because I kind of think I might actually go soon since I don't want to stay up late too much. Okay. Slowly blending these areas here, and that should hopefully provide us with a better transition. Dun, dun. Okay, let's turn this around a bit and do this side a bit more as well. What if I did actually that one? It's always cooler to find articulated skeletons. Of course, articulated skeleton would be the best. That's without a question. That's a bit too thin. Need something a bit. Oh, maybe that. Or probably that. Thing with articulated skeletons as well is that they provide you more information about how the animal was when it was, put together. So, of course, an articulated skeleton is a way better find than even a 50% complete of something that we, for example, haven't had found yet. So, anybody's looking forward to seeing a kit of a T-Rex or a Giga, 48 inches long? Or that makes it 120 centimeters for metric systems, guys. I mean, one of the potential reasons maybe it's just because it's just simply to do probably with the environment or the conditions in which they were buried. I would probably say that's my guess, but then again, I'm not a geologist, so I mean, I haven't dug in deeper into this particular part of the matter, but I would expect it to do something with how they were buried there in the first place, and I'm pretty sure it doesn't produce as many articulated skeletons as it does unarticulated. Yeah, it's a bit quieter today, isn't it? That's okay. Sometimes we're gonna have more active streams. Other times they might be a bit quieter than usual. So yeah, hold on a second. Let's check this out. So, 48-inch long T-Rex. There. That will be the length of the 48-inch long T-Rex. Or a Giga, because they're gonna be pretty much the same. Right. Well, it's kind of coming together slowly, doesn't it? Okay, I'm getting to the point where I will have to hit the bed soon, and I still haven't eaten for quite some time. So since there's only a few of us left, thanks very much. Yeah, sorry. Plane. Okay, plane. Are you done flying yet? Thank you. Right. So thanks so much, guys, for watching. If you're new to the channel, please make sure you hit the like and subscribe. And we'll probably, if by the next week, if I don't finish this guy, we will probably continue doing that one, unless I come up with something else to do. And we are going to wrap it up this time around because it will be what, 3 hours roughly. And what else can I say? Can't wait to have this one done as a kit and have it painted. And for you guys, if you haven't yet, also please make sure you follow the link right here to my page and also subscribe to that if you want to obviously keep up with my work and check out my kits and whatnot. So let me quickly drop that. There we go. So if you haven't already subscribed to that, then please subscribe. And yeah, I guess, guys, I'll speak to you all later. Thanks for coming and thanks for the questions. It was a good discussion. And you guys, if you are already also about to hit the bed, good night. Ciao. Where's the end live stream? Yeah, there we go. Bye-bye.